Have you ever gone to bed with a heavy heart, feeling fear creep in the shadows of your room, and wondered, what if tonight is different? What if tonight something unseen is trying to steal your peace? Tonight I want to share with you a secret that only a few truly know. A powerful night prayer that can protect your heart, calm your mind, and guard your soul while you sleep. Most people go to bed without it, and that is exactly why so many nights end in worry, restless thoughts, and unanswered fears. But tonight that changes. You see, night is not just the end of your day, it's a vulnerable hour. It's a time when doubts rise, anxiety whispers, and your spirit feels exposed. But it is also the hour when God's protection can meet you in ways you've never imagined. There is a reason this prayer has been whispered in quiet homes for generations, a reason why only 1% of people truly experience its full power. And if you stay with me until the end of this video, you will discover that reason. In this video, you will learn exactly how to guard your mind against fear before sleep. You will learn how to speak a prayer that shields your home, your family, and your soul from worry and uncertainty. You will discover a prayer pattern so powerful, so simple, that it transforms your night into a sanctuary of peace. And more importantly, you will uncover a hidden truth about bedtime prayer for protection, something even many who pray every night do not know. Most people rush to their beds, thinking that sleep alone will restore them. But the truth is, without the right prayer, the night can be filled with restless thoughts, hidden anxieties, and spiritual unease. Yet there is hope. Prayer before sleep isn't just a routine, it's a powerful shield. And tonight I'm going to guide you through it step by step. By the time you finish this video, you will feel a deep sense of calm, a renewed confidence, and a peace that surpasses understanding. Imagine this. As darkness falls, while the world sleeps, a prayer silently rises from your lips, wrapping around your heart like an invisible armor. This is not just wishful thinking. This is a powerful night prayer that has brought protection to thousands who never thought they could rest fully. And tonight, it can do the same for you. You will learn words that awaken divine protection, sentences that ease your mind, and phrases that guard your spirit. You will understand why some people wake refreshed, full of energy and peace, while others toss and turn, haunted by anxiety and fear. I will also reveal something very few know: how to structure your prayer in a way that not only calms your mind, but calls down a supernatural sense of safety. This is a bedtime prayer for protection unlike any other, because it blends faith, intention, and a spiritual strategy that most overlook. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to use it every single night so your sleep is no longer ordinary but sacred. So stay with me until the very end. Because tonight you will learn the prayer that changes everything. You will discover the steps that make it more than words, more than routine, but a true spiritual safeguard. You will hear truths about night prayer that are rarely spoken aloud, truths that can lift anxiety, banish fear, and renew hope. This is not just advice, it is revelation, a spiritual tool that is both timeless and immediate. And before we begin, I want to welcome you to our channel, Fuel Forge. Here we explore powerful prayers, spiritual wisdom, and life-changing guidance that fuels your soul every day. Make sure you subscribe and join our community so you never miss the spiritual insights that will protect and empower your life. By subscribing, you ensure that every night you have access to tools that bring peace, faith, and protection straight into your home. Tonight, I invite you to open your heart, quiet your mind, and prepare for a prayer that is unlike anything you've experienced before. This prayer is not just for the faint of heart. It is for anyone who desires true peace before sleep, anyone who seeks protection from worry and fear, and anyone ready to embrace a divine safeguard that has quietly transformed lives. So let us begin this journey together. The night is waiting, your mind is ready, and God's protection is ready to meet you. But first, you must stay watch and embrace the words that follow. The prayer you are about to learn has the power to change your nights, to restore your peace, and to guard your spirit like never before. Stay with me and discover the secret that only a few ever truly experience. Have you ever noticed how the night seems to awaken thoughts you didn't know existed? The quiet hours, when the world is still, have a way of stirring the mind in ways the day never does. During the day, our attention is pulled in every direction: work, responsibilities, conversations. But when the lights dim and the world goes silent, the mind begins to replay its own stories. Small worries grow bigger, regrets whisper louder, and fears sneak in through cracks we didn't know existed. That is why night prayers are so important. They are not just rituals, they are a shield against the storm of thoughts that can overwhelm us when darkness falls. At night, the mind naturally becomes active. Scientists and psychologists have observed that our brains cycle through periods of deep reflection as we prepare for sleep. Without a pause, without direction, the mind can spiral. Thoughts of the past, concerns for the future, and even fears of the unknown can rise unchecked. It's as if the quiet itself demands an audience, and our worries gladly take the stage. The result is restlessness, a racing heart, and sometimes even physical tension. And yet, there is a secret many overlook: prayer before sleep channels this energy into peace. By directing our focus toward God, we replace chaos with calm, fear with faith, and anxiety with assurance. A Christian bedtime prayer doesn't just soothe the mind, it transforms the night into a sanctuary. Stress accumulates in ways that are invisible but deeply felt. Every unfinished task, every unresolved conflict, every lingering fear leaves an imprint on our hearts. During the day, distraction allows us to function despite these pressures. But at night, the distractions fade, and stress becomes impossible to ignore. Worries about work, health, relationships, or finances can all surge as soon as we lie down. Even small worries, if left unchecked, can grow into anxiety that prevents rest. Night prayers act like a release valve for this pressure. They are a moment to hand over your burdens, to surrender every weight to a higher power, and to trust that God will guard your night. Prayer for peaceful sleep isn't just spiritual, it's a practical tool to calm the mind and body before rest. Fear has a way of creeping in when darkness surrounds us. Shadows seem taller, silence seems heavier, and imagination often plays tricks on the mind. Many people experience moments of fear in the quiet of the night, feelings that can grip the soul with invisible hands. Night is not just the time for rest. It can be a time when emotional and spiritual attacks intensify. This isn't to frighten you, but to make you aware of a reality that prayer addresses. The night can amplify the struggles that are already present within us. It is in these hours that unresolved anger, hidden guilt, and secret fears can become louder, trying to disturb our peace. This is exactly why a nightly connection to God is so essential. A night prayer for protection doesn't just confront fear, it surrounds the heart with divine assurance. Spiritual and emotional attacks during sleep may sound like a concept pulled from stories, but many who pray regularly will attest to the difference it makes. Without prayer, the heart remains unguarded, vulnerable to doubt, despair, and worry. It's during sleep that the mind often replays the day's challenges, sometimes magnifying them in ways that feel insurmountable. Anxiety can linger at the edges of consciousness, making rest difficult or impossible. Christian bedtime prayer works as a shield, not only calming the mind, but creating an invisible boundary of protection. It is a moment to invite God into the stillness, to call His presence into your room, and to declare that no fear, no thought, and no shadow can disturb the peace He provides. Prayer doesn't only guard against fear, it calms the heart and mind in profound ways. When you speak to God, you are actively choosing where to place your focus. You are deliberately shifting attention from what you cannot control to what you can trust. Repeating prayers, speaking words of faith, and reflecting on God's promises has a physiological effect as well. Heart rate slow, breathing becomes steadier, and the body begins to enter a state of readiness for sleep. The mind, which had been racing with worries, finds direction. This is why night prayers are not just symbolic, they are transformative. They provide a structured moment to process the day, to release tension, and to embrace a sense of divine calm that prepares the soul for rest. Prayer for peaceful sleep is a gentle yet powerful method to retrain the mind and body to find rest, even after a day full of stress. The connection between prayer and divine protection is one of the most profound truths of spiritual life. When we pray before bed, we are not simply speaking into the air, we are aligning ourselves with God's care. We are inviting His presence to watch over us while we sleep, to protect us from dangers seen and unseen, and to cover our thoughts with peace. Night prayer protection is not just a spiritual concept, it is an active practice. By taking even a few minutes to speak words of faith, gratitude, and trust, you signal to your mind and soul that you are not alone, that divine protection surrounds you, and that fear has no power over your night. The sense of safety that comes from prayer is unique, because it combines spiritual truth with emotional reassurance. The power of a Christian bedtime prayer also lies in its ability to reset the mind. Think about how many times you've gone to bed with unresolved thoughts. The mind replays the events of the day, questions what could have been done differently, or anticipates tomorrow's challenges. Overthinking can spiral, creating stress that seems impossible to escape. But when you pray, you are actively directing the flow of your thoughts. You acknowledge God's presence, surrender concerns, and claim protection. This simple act interrupts the cycle of worry, allowing the mind to slow down and the heart to rest. Night prayers are not only a defense mechanism, they are a tool for restoration, helping you end the day with peace rather than tension. Consider the ways prayer works on an invisible level. The words you speak, whether aloud or in your mind, carry intention. They declare faith, trust, and surrender. They create a rhythm, a sacred pattern that the mind recognizes as safety. Over time, this pattern becomes a cue for the body to relax. Muscles loosen, breathing slows, and thoughts become quieter. What starts as a spiritual act soon becomes a physiological response that enhances sleep. A night prayer for protection is more than a spiritual routine. It is a bridge between faith and practical peace. The practice of prayer before sleep, repeated nightly, trains both the mind and body to enter a state of readiness for rest, while simultaneously reinforcing the sense that God is guarding every corner of your life. The importance of night prayers also extends to emotional resilience. Many people carry the weight of relationships, personal failures, or disappointments into the night. Without a way to process these emotions, they fester and can disturb sleep. Night prayers provide an outlet, a sacred space to release anger, sadness, fear, and frustration. By speaking these emotions to God, you acknowledge them without letting them control you. This act of surrender is liberating, allowing the heart to let go and the soul to relax. Christian bedtime prayer becomes not only a spiritual safeguard but also an emotional tool, turning night from a period of unrest into a time of healing. Another reason night prayers are vital is their role in building spiritual awareness. Darkness often sharpens perception. While distractions fade, the soul can sense what is truly significant. Night prayers help you recognize the divine in the quiet, to hear guidance that might be drowned out during the day. They invite clarity, discernment, and insight. While sleep rejuvenates the body, prayer rejuvenates the soul. By linking the two, you create a night that restores every part of your being. Prayer for peaceful sleep is therefore both protective and restorative, a holistic practice that honors mind, body, and spirit. Even the simplest prayers have power when spoken with intention. A short prayer of gratitude, a request for protection, or a declaration of faith can have more impact than hours of silent worry. Night prayer protection works because it directs focus, aligns the heart with God, and invites peace. In the quiet of your room, your words form a shield, a spiritual boundary that transforms how you experience the night. Over time, this practice becomes automatic, creating a habit where sleep and prayer are inseparable, each supporting the other. A Christian bedtime prayer, even if brief, can become the most significant part of your evening, setting the stage for both spiritual and physical renewal. Finally, consider the ripple effect of night prayers. When you pray before sleep, it doesn't just affect your own mind. It affects your environment, your family, and even the energy around your home. A heart at peace fosters harmony. A mind free from fear radiates calm. And a prayer spoken in faith carries a spiritual presence that extends beyond the individual. Night prayers are therefore not just for personal protection. They are a blessing for the home, a quiet force that safeguards those you love while you rest. Have you ever paused for a moment before sleep and wondered who is watching over you in the quiet hours? The truth is, God never sleeps. While we close our eyes, let our thoughts wander, or surrender to rest, He remains awake, alert, and fully aware of every detail of our lives. The same God who created the stars that light the night sky, the same God who watches over the smallest sparrow, is fully attentive to your life, even while you sleep. There is comfort in knowing that the night does not silence His care. Even when darkness surrounds you, God's presence is constant, unbroken, and unwavering. God watches over His people at night in ways we often cannot see or measure. While our eyes are closed and our minds drift into dreams, He is actively guarding, protecting, and guiding. Think about the countless nights you felt worry, fear, or uncertainty pressing in, only to wake up in the morning, safe and unscathed. That is not coincidence. That is God's protection at work. He is not passive or distant. He is present, attentive, and deeply invested in your safety and well-being. Every sigh, every whispered prayer, every worry you release into His hands is received with divine attention. Nighttime can often feel like a vulnerable season. Shadows seem longer, silence louder, and the imagination can paint dangers that may not exist. It is in these moments that surrender becomes powerful. When you consciously choose to trust God before sleep, you are placing yourself in the safest hands imaginable. You are acknowledging that your life, your body, your mind, and your spirit are not yours alone to carry through the night. Trusting God before sleep is not just an act of faith. It is an act of wisdom, understanding that the one who never slumbers is infinitely capable of watching over every detail, every heartbeat, every thought. Prayer is the bridge that invites God's presence into the night. When we speak to Him, we are consciously drawing His attention to our lives. We are not calling on Him to start paying attention because He already is. But through prayer, we open ourselves to receive His protection and peace in a tangible way. A short prayer for safety before sleep, spoken with faith, can transform a restless night into a night of quiet assurance. Prayer does not simply prepare the mind for sleep. It signals to the heart that God is present, that He is aware, and that His protection envelops every corner of your life. There is a unique power in the awareness that God is near, especially at night. It builds faith in ways that nothing else can. When you lie down, knowing that the Creator of the universe is guarding your rest, fear begins to fade. Anxiety loses its grip. Doubts shrink into the background, unable to compete with the certainty of God's care. This confidence is not based on circumstance or luck. It is rooted in divine truth. God's protection at night is not an abstract idea. It is a living reality that transforms how we experience rest. Every thought you surrender, every worry you hand over, becomes a step closer to a night filled with peace and spiritual safety. Consider how many people live their nights unconsciously, moving through sleep unaware of the spiritual protection that surrounds them. Yet those who pause, who pray, who consciously invite God into their sleep, experience a profound difference. Trusting God before sleep allows us to release control over what we cannot manage, and to rest in the certainty that the one who never sleeps is fully engaged with our lives. Even in moments of fear, even in nights filled with uncertainty, this trust becomes a shield. It is the assurance that no harm, no unseen attack, and no troubling thought can overwhelm the peace he provides. Prayer before sleep is an active declaration of this trust. It is not merely words. It is an intentional act that aligns your spirit with God's vigilance. When you say a prayer for safety, you are acknowledging both your vulnerability and His strength. You are turning your attention from what threatens rest to what guarantees it. The mind that might otherwise wander into anxiety is anchored in faith. The heart that might otherwise race with fear is calmed by His presence. Each prayer is like a beacon, signaling to the divine that you are ready to rest, ready to surrender, ready to experience the peace that comes only from Him. The night is also a time for renewal, and God's protection is part of that renewal process. While we sleep, our bodies repair, our minds consolidate memories, and our spirits refresh. Prayer invites God's presence into this process, making rest not just a physical necessity but a spiritual gift. When you pray before bed, you are not only asking for safety, you are inviting God to actively participate in the restoration of your soul. Every dream, every quiet moment, every deep breath is under His watchful care. Night becomes a sacred space where His protection, love, and guidance envelop you completely. Faith grows strongest when tested, and the night often provides such tests. Fear, anxiety, and uncertainty seem louder in the darkness. Yet these are the very moments when God's protection becomes most visible. Those who make prayer a nightly habit discover a remarkable shift. Worries that once dominated the mind are replaced with a sense of calm. Anxiety that once kept sleep at bay is replaced with a restful confidence. This is the power of knowing that God never sleeps, and that every night His attention is fully on His people. A consistent practice of night prayer protection strengthens the spirit, trains the mind to release fear, and allows the soul to rest fully in divine care. Even simple words spoken in faith have profound impact. A short prayer of gratitude, a request for protection, or a plea for guidance signals to your heart and mind that you are not alone. It reminds you that your life is watched over by one who never sleeps, one whose power and love are unwavering. The act of speaking to God, even in quiet moments before closing your eyes, transforms ordinary nights into extraordinary experiences of peace. Trust God before sleep, and you will find that fear, restlessness, and doubt no longer dominate the darkness. Instead, your nights become sanctuaries of calm, your hearts become vessels of trust, and your souls find the safety they have been longing for. God's protection at night is both a promise and a practice. It is a promise that nothing can overtake His watchful care. It is a practice that requires intentionality, faith, and surrender. By making prayer a nightly habit, you align yourself with the divine rhythm of care and protection. You invite His presence into your room, into your mind, and into your heart. You declare that, regardless of the uncertainties of life, you are resting under the gaze of one who never sleeps, whose love never falters, and whose protection is unshakable. Have you ever lain in bed, staring at the ceiling, while your mind refuses to quiet down? Thoughts race, fears rise, and every worry from the day seems to come alive in the silence. Anxiety can feel heavier at night, as if the darkness itself amplifies every doubt and every concern. It's in these moments that many people feel powerless, unable to release the tension in their hearts and the stress in their minds. But there is a way to lay these burdens down. Prayer for anxiety at night is not just a ritual, it is a lifeline, a way to hand over everything that weighs you down and invite peace to replace fear. Fear has a way of holding the mind hostage. It whispers doubts, magnifies small problems, and convinces us that tomorrow may be worse than today. Heavy thoughts pile on top of one another until rest seems impossible, but the act of speaking to God shifts everything. When we pray, we are not only acknowledging our fear, we are consciously giving it to Him. We are saying, I cannot carry this alone. I trust you to hold it for me. Giving all your worries to God is a radical act of faith, and it is also profoundly liberating. It is in these moments of surrender that prayer works most powerfully, clearing the heart of its heaviest burdens and opening the way for calm and renewal. Prayer brings emotional release in ways that nothing else can. When we speak honestly, when we pour out our hearts, the weight of anxiety begins to lift. Thoughts that felt tangled and overwhelming suddenly begin to unravel. The mind, which had been trapped in a cycle of worry, begins to find rhythm and order. A simple prayer against fear can act like a gentle hand on the shoulder of your heart, guiding it towards safety and calm. It is not a quick fix, but it is a real, tangible step toward peace before sleep. Each word spoken, each thought surrendered, becomes a seed of tranquility planted in the soul. The beauty of prayer is that it allows us to confront our emotions without being consumed by them. Instead of fighting fear or resisting worry, we hand them over, moment by moment, word by word. This act of release does more than lighten the heart, it rewires the mind. Fear loses its intensity when acknowledged in prayer, and anxiety begins to fade as we replace it with trust. By intentionally inviting God into these moments, we create a safe space where emotions can flow and then settle. The weight that once pressed down on the chest can begin to lift, replaced by a sense of calm that signals the body and mind to prepare for rest. Peace before sleep is not something that happens by chance. It is cultivated through conscious choice and intentional prayer. When we pray against fear, we are actively reclaiming our nights from worry. We are choosing faith over panic, trust over doubt, and calm over chaos. This does not mean that fear disappears completely, but it does mean that we no longer allow it to dominate the quiet hours. Instead, prayer transforms the night into a sanctuary, where the heart can breathe freely, where the mind can rest, and where the soul can reconnect with God's presence. Heavy thoughts often come from the constant demands of life. Responsibilities, expectations, and regrets have a way of accumulating until the mind feels like a stormy sea. But prayer creates a channel for these thoughts to flow into a higher power. By handing over our concerns, we create room for clarity, perspective, and emotional release. Anxiety begins to dissolve when it is placed in the hands of one who is infinitely capable of managing what we cannot. Prayer for anxiety at night is a tool for liberation, a way to unburden the mind and find safety in spiritual care. The process of releasing fear and worry through prayer also prepares the heart for rest. As the mind grows still and the soul finds peace, the body begins to follow. Muscles relax, breathing slows, and a natural readiness for sleep emerges. Prayer works on multiple levels. It is emotional, spiritual, and physical. By addressing anxiety before bed, we allow the entire self to enter a state of calm. This prepares the heart not only to rest, but to renew itself, restoring energy and hope for the day to come. Fear often whispers about what might happen tomorrow, replaying memories of yesterday or magnifying concerns about today. Prayer interrupts these cycles. When you speak a prayer against fear, you are declaring that worry does not control you. You are replacing anxiety with faith, tension with calm, and uncertainty with trust. Each word acts like a barrier against the storm of negative thoughts, creating a sacred space where God's peace can settle. Night becomes less about struggle and more about restoration. Even brief prayers can have profound impact. A simple statement of trust, a few words of surrender, or a heartfelt plea for protection can release mountains of worry. The key is consistency and intention. When you make prayer a nightly practice, it becomes a rhythm that your mind and heart recognize. Over time, fear loses its grip, Heavy thoughts are released more easily, and peace before sleep becomes a habit rather than a hope. Every night, prayer strengthens the soul's ability to let go and to trust in God's care. Imagine lying down, letting your fears rise, and then fall away, knowing that each one is placed in God's hands. The heart grows lighter, the chest feels less burdened, and the mind slows its endless replay of anxious thoughts. The transformation may begin small, a sense of relief, a softening of worry, but it builds with each prayer. This is the quiet power of a nightly conversation with God. It is a practice that turns anxiety into peace, fear into faith, and restlessness into renewal. When worry and fear are surrendered through prayer, they no longer have control over your night. You are no longer a prisoner of your own thoughts. Instead, you are a participant in a sacred rhythm, one where God's presence, care, and protection surround you. Prayer for anxiety at night is a gateway to this rhythm, a method of letting go and letting God step in. It reminds us that we do not carry these burdens alone, and that the night, once filled with tension, can become a time of healing and restoration. Even the act of speaking prayers aloud, whispering them in the quiet of your room, has a powerful effect. Words have energy, intention, and focus. When spoken in faith, they carry your fears away and invite God's peace into the spaces they once occupied. Prayer against fear becomes a deliberate act of courage, a way to reclaim the night and establish a sense of security that is both emotional and spiritual. Through this practice, rest becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The night, once a source of tension and worry, transforms into a sanctuary. Anxiety fades, fear diminishes, and peace before sleep fills the heart. Prayer serves as the bridge between worry and rest, a spiritual tool that replaces heavy thoughts with lightness and calm. By regularly giving all worries to God, the mind, body, and soul prepare for restorative sleep. Prayer for anxiety at night becomes more than a habit. It becomes a lifeline, a protective rhythm, and a source of deep comfort that allows you to face the night with confidence, faith, and peace. There is a blessing in deep sleep that goes beyond the body. It restores energy, repairs the mind, and renews the spirit. Yet so many people drift through the night without experiencing this gift, tossing and turning, weighed down by worries, fears, and unanswered questions. Deep sleep is more than rest. It is a sanctuary, a time when the body, mind, and soul align in peace. And it is prayer that opens the door to this sacred space, guiding you into nights where calm and renewal are not fleeting but real. When we invite God into our evenings, we invite more than protection. We invite true rest, prayer, for restful sleep is the bridge between the chaos of the day and the calm of night. It signals to the mind that the burdens of today no longer need to dominate tonight. It tells the heart that God is in control, that worries can be laid down, and that peace is not just possible, but promised. Each word spoken in prayer is like a gentle hand, leading the mind toward stillness and the soul toward quiet confidence. A peaceful night prayer is not only a spiritual practice, it is a gift to yourself, a moment to embrace the renewal God intends for you. Sleep is not merely a pause in activity. It is a time when the body rebuilds, when muscles repair, when memory and focus sharpen. But it is also a time when the soul refreshes, when emotional weight is lifted, and when spiritual strength is renewed. By connecting prayer to sleep, we ensure that rest is holistic. Our nights become a time of healing, not only for the physical self, but for the mind and spirit. Sleep in God's peace is more than a comforting phrase. It is a reality that transforms ordinary nights into sacred experiences of restoration and strength. Consider how many times you have woken up still carrying the tension of the day. The worries that should have dissolved with the night instead cling, leaving fatigue and unease. This is what happens when sleep is disconnected from prayer. The mind and soul remain unsettled, and the night cannot do its restorative work. But when we speak a prayer for restful sleep, when we intentionally invite God's presence into the quiet hours, everything changes. The heart slows, the mind clears, and the spirit rests. Anxiety fades, fear diminishes, and a deep sense of calm takes its place. Night becomes not just a pause but a renewal, preparing us for the strength we need tomorrow. God's promise of peace is at the center of this transformation. He assures us that we can lay down our burdens and rest in His care. This promise is not theoretical. It is active, powerful, and accessible every night. When you pray before sleep, you are claiming that promise for yourself. You are choosing to rest in the confidence that the God who watches over you never tires, never sleeps, and is fully present in your night. Peace flows into your mind, body, and spirit, making room for restorative sleep that leaves you refreshed, renewed, and ready for the challenges of a new day. Prayer also prepares the heart for rest. When we speak words of trust, gratitude, and surrender, we release the tension that has accumulated throughout the day. We acknowledge God's care, declare our faith, and invite Him to fill the quiet with presence. This act is more than a routine. It is an intentional practice that shifts focus from fear, doubt, and worry to faith, trust, and peace. A peaceful night prayer transforms the ordinary moments before sleep into sacred preparation, setting the stage for profound rest and rejuvenation. Even the simple act of closing your eyes and speaking a short prayer has profound impact. A prayer for restful sleep communicates intention. It tells the heart, mind, and body that it is safe to let go. It signals that the day is complete, that God is in control, and that your soul can finally relax. The result is a night where dreams are calmer, sleep is deeper, and morning comes with renewed energy. Every night that prayer is practiced, the connection between mind, body, and spirit grows stronger, creating a rhythm of peace and restoration that becomes second nature. Sleep in God's peace is not only restorative, it is empowering. Each night, the renewal experienced in prayer prepares you for the day ahead. Challenges, stresses, and responsibilities are met, not with weariness, but with clarity and strength. The body is rested, the mind is focused, and the spirit is anchored in divine assurance. This is the secret that few discover, that rest and prayer are inseparable, that peaceful nights are not accidental, but intentional, and that sleep in God's peace sets the tone for an entire day filled with calm, energy, and purpose. The blessing of deep sleep is amplified when prayer becomes a part of the evening routine. The mind, once restless, finds rhythm. The heart, once heavy, finds ease. The soul, once burdened, finds release. A peaceful night prayer prepares the space for this transformation, opening the way for God's presence to settle, for His promise of peace to be realized, and for the night to become a sacred sanctuary of rest. It is a rhythm of faith, trust, and surrender that allows sleep to fulfill its highest purpose, renewal, restoration, and strength for every part of life. Finally, inviting God into your night creates a gentle transition toward the prayer itself. When we recognize the blessing of deep sleep, connect it with divine care, and focus on renewal, the heart naturally becomes receptive. Words flow more easily, intention sharpens, and the act of praying before sleep becomes effortless. Night, once a time of worry or restlessness, transforms into a sacred ritual where body, mind, and spirit align in harmony. Prayer for restful sleep, a peaceful night prayer, and the ability to sleep in God's peace together form a powerful pattern, one that turns ordinary nights into extraordinary moments of spiritual restoration and calm. Now it's time to take everything we've talked about and turn it into action. I invite you to pray with an open heart, without hesitation, without holding back. Slow down, quiet your mind, and focus completely on this moment. Let every worry, every fear, and every heavy thought be placed gently in God's hands. This is your time to surrender, to trust, and to experience the peace that only He can give. As you prepare, remember that faith is your anchor. Trust in God's presence. Let His promises fill your heart, and allow his peace to replace every shadow of fear. This is the moment where your spirit aligns with divine protection. Every word you speak, every thought you release, is a step closer to rest, renewal, and true calm. Night prayer with faith is not just a practice, it is a powerful declaration that God's care surrounds you while you sleep. Tonight, let this be your sanctuary. Let this be the start of a new habit where your nights are filled with calm, your sleep is restored, and your soul rests fully in His love. The powerful prayer before bed you are about to speak is more than words. It is a lifeline, a shield, and a source of peace. Every night, it can transform restlessness into serenity and worry into hope. Christian prayer for sleep connects you to God's presence, preparing your mind, body, and spirit for the renewal of tomorrow. Take a deep breath, open your heart, and let this prayer guide you into rest. Know that as you pray, you are safe, you are cared for, and you are never alone. Let the calm assurance of God's love fill you completely, replacing doubt with faith, tension with peace, and fear with hope. If this video has blessed you, make sure to like it and subscribe to our channel, Fuel Forge, so you never miss the prayers and guidance that can transform your nights and renew your spirit. Tonight, let faith lead the way, and let your heart rest in God's perfect peace.